So we're all set with that. Hello, everybody out there. Getting ready to start ourselves up. Going to give you a couple of announcements this morning. As the music plays in the background, we'll kind of calm that down a little bit. There we go. NFL is very busy. Obviously, we're getting ready for the season to start and do some things out in the football fields for getting ready for practice and getting ready for the season to start. We've already had one game. Chicago Bears played the Ravens to a 17-16 loss. But more importantly on the football front is the 2019 Pro Bowl is going to be in Orlando this year. That's in January of 2019, January 27th. Just a brief announcement on that, so you keep up to date on things. The other thing is Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's coming. The enshrinement coverage on the NFL Network is going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, August the 4th. Enshrinement ceremony is at 7 p.m., so it starts at 6, but the ceremony itself is at 7 p.m. The Good Morning Football live from Canton was on Thursday of this week. It goes all the way through Saturday. The Gold Jacket ceremony is today. It airs today at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, so that's 7 p.m. here in good old Colorado. Take a look at those and see the induction happening with those who are on the list. Let me take a look here. Got the broadcasters who are on the line. Okay, I should have highlighted this better. Okay, well that's it for that. That's the NFL Hall of Fame ceremonies and situation this weekend. And then we have a fact sheet from the NFL. Fact sheet from the NFL in using the helmet. This is using the helmet not because, of course you know how to use the helmet. You put it on your head, you use the helmet, right? It's all good. So what we want to make sure we're doing is when we have the helmet on and we're playing with the helmet on, what are the rules regarding when I lower my helmet to do something? Well, there's an ejection standards. Player lowers his helmet to establish a linear body posture prior to initiating and making contact with the helmet. That's one of the criteria. The other one is unobstructed path to his opponent. So you don't have anybody in front of you. It's unobstructed. And contact clearly avoidable, and player delivering the blow had other options. So it's all on you, the player who's wearing the helmet, as to your intent. And I think that's what these 3 points are doing, is causing a description of intent. Now, as I do that, I have somebody calling me. Good morning to whoever's on the phone with me. Courtney, is this you?
Yep, me.
Well, good morning to you. How are you? I am awesome. Now, I'm sure that you don't probably remember my face or my name, but I know you from when you were just running around the pits checking out the cars. Yeah, and I wasn't just standing up, in the line. I was actually in the pit, watching you get whatever snacks and whatever the case may be, and your mom, watching you. But that's neither here nor there, because this is all about you today. So my audience, please welcome Courtney Forrest, the #1 placeholder in the NHRA Funny Car Race to the Championship at this time, separated by 165 points with Ron Capps, as I remember right. And I'm gonna give a little stats, Courtney, but we're gonna talk about power and privilege. That's my theme for today, and that's my kind of turn the eyes sideways kind of look. Power and privilege. What does that really mean? Because I have to tell you, girl, you have come a long way in this sport in a very fast order of time. Does it feel that way to you? Do you feel like you've gotten so far so fast? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the family element and how that influences the power and privilege in your sport as well as in your life off the track. My whole routine is about performance, sports performance. And I've had my time with Zippy and Tommy Johnson Jr. on talking about strategies on reaction times and how to help with those kind of things. And I'm sure you've got your own criteria for it. So what is it that when you get to the track, what does your mind start to do to get into that frame of mind? Now, Fridays is a kind of a lazy day during the day because it's an evening race, correct? And so what do you do?
My reaction time. I mean, that starts through qualifying. I try to pretend that that it's race day when I pull up there on a qualifying run to just continue to improve for just, when I stay shallow. So yeah, I mean, it's an effort, I think always involved and, out there with the fans and, work with the team and pull the car out there and see what we can do on the first lap that kind of sets the stage, I guess, for the rest of the weekend and kind of work off of that first run and obviously hope to improve and qualify in the top half.
Yeah. So in that process you go through, getting your mind right, you know what it feels like when you're driving into the track. Now at Seattle, you've got that long run before you through the woods. It's like going to grandma's house. And to get to the track, and every track's different in the approach to the track. Some a little bit more commercial than others as you get there. But are there certain things that you want to make sure goes through your head, certain things you're thinking about to get yourself ready for because you've got distractions. That the track has its own environment and its own energy to it. Are you thinking about what I need to stay away from to stay focused on what the task is at hand for the day?
I mean, to be honest, when I pull out there to the racetrack, I'm usually with my sister or my dad, and I feel like we're kind of relaxed. We're just kind of excited about the weekend, and ready to get out there with our cars and our teams and the fans, and especially when I pull into Seattle, it's all the memories kind of come back from the wins that I've had here, and it's kind of been a track for me that I've had some highs and lows, and it kind of like I said, all the memories kind of plug back in, and you just get excited, get back in your car, and we're excited to just get out there and get the first run over with, just to like really get where you stand for the start of the weekend.
Yeah.
What you're going to want to work off of. So for me, I mean, I'm always just trying to get in my zone no matter what. But to be honest, when you drive out the track, you kind of just take in the atmosphere and the beauty of the town that you're in before you stop at the race car, and all your focus is like that.
Is there anything in that preparation time that you've got to stay away from because it becomes a distraction to you?
Well, I think the main thing about the sport is that, it's not just a physical sport, it's also a mental sport. So if you can't handle the distractions before you're in the car, then, you're definitely not going to be able to handle it when you're in the car. So for me, I mean, there's nothing specific I'm trying to stay away from that I can think of off the top of my head. I just try to relax and just do my thing. And, you have sponsor appearances. We go to different, the auto display. We're over, doing stuff with advanced auto parts. We're in the hospitality signing stands in there and the customers and out of the road stand. So, I mean, I'm constantly busy, before the run, in between runs, and then, of course, once you pull up to the station, like, your focus is just on that race car, and, that's when you really get in your zone. So, I don't know, I think maybe everybody's different, but I don't know, that's kind of how I do my thing.
Courtney, do you think you have had, because of your experience at a young age, going through that environment, knowing it, you get a comfort level with it, that you have an advantage over other drivers that didn't necessarily grow up with that kind of exposure?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I guess when you see cars, crash and catch on fire, like, for me, I grew up watching my dad do that. it's something that I obviously grew up around, was used to seeing, and I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit more used to it than other dads, but I don't know if it really gives me any sort of advantage. I just love the sport, love being around it, love the team aspect, just the fact that, what these cars do in general and how incredible it is. But I don't know, it's always been a family business for me, so who knows if that really gives me an advantage, but I'm used to being around these cars and I'm afraid of them. But then again, Dad always said you gotta drive with a little bit of fear, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from my dad, and I think throughout the years I'm very fortunate that, he's been my teacher.
Well, and congratulations to your dad. I know I talked to him at Denver briefly, and congratulating him on just the milestones that he's accomplishing, at his age and the things he's done and the stories he can tell. Or does the fish get bigger in his stories, Courtney, or is it reality? Does he stay within the realm of reality when he tells his stories? Because I know the explosions are horrific anyway, but he's just so darn humble when it comes to telling his stories. But they always grab me when he tells, even stories I've been at the track when that story happened. And when he tells it, he's got his own style and inimitable way of telling things. So
for sure. He has his own stories. Sometimes I don't know if they're true or not. He's definitely one to exaggerate, but I always kind of look at my mom to see if it's true. And usually, saying, yeah, that did happen. Back in the day, and it's just incredible the story my dad has. I mean, he's been through so much since he was a kid till now. And everything that he's accomplished, it seems unreal when you hear his real story.
Well, it's
pretty incredible.
It's interesting, Courtney. As you say that, we have on the screen here you and the family in front of the Jolly Rancher funny car, and it's the 60. I think it was 60 Minutes show on you guys. And now we've got the image of you three girls talking to the broadcaster that did the show. And as you said it, your dad was taught. We don't have the sound turned up here, but as you said it, what you were saying about your dad, the picture of you and him as a little girl walking down a track with a picture of your backs, very very appropriate. So props to my engineer here for putting that up at the right time. Now, you have done so many things off the track that kind of builds that foundation of power. And when I say power and privilege is our theme, I mean it in the best of ways. Too often I talk to young women who are elite athletes in other sports, and they struggle with gaining power and the privileges they get because they use it the wrong way. You've been extremely grounded through your family experience and handling all kinds of different exposure to the media. I mean, national television broadcasts about you and the family, your success as a driver, and then recently, within the last 18 months, your ESPN shoot. That was phenomenal, phenomenal. What have been the messages that you want to send to other women that have power and they're gaining recognition for what they do and how they do it, to keep all those things in perspective and still be treated legitimately and with respect for your talent? What do you say to that young girl that wants to be a drag racer down the road about that?
Well, I've read about it I think it's really cool that some of them had told me that they didn't realize girls could race until they, saw me and my sister on TV, driving these race cars, and I think that's really amazing for them to kind of have that chance to really open their eyes and let them realize that they're capable of doing anything as a female. And for me, growing up, I think as a kid in general, you don't really see barriers in front of you. You have all these dreams and all these possibilities in life. And I feel like when you get older, I think some people try to take that away from you. And I think that they just need to remember that they're capable of anything, whether it's a male-dominated sport or a career opportunity that, no matter what, they can succeed in it if they just set their mind to it, work at it. Who's going to be high school for sure. It's definitely a roller coaster ride, but you got to stick through it and ride it out and have fun with it. And, obviously, I think anyone can reach those goals.
Now, we know, well, I know, and obviously you've already stated it, but our audience may not know that your dad is not the only very strong influence in your world and protector and teacher for you. What have been the words of wisdom your mom has given you about your career in the sport, as well as all those other outside the track events that support your career? What are some of the pieces of advice she's given you about managing your mindset, being properly prepared for all those experiences?
Well, to be honest, my mom's been our rock in our family for everybody, for my sisters and my dad. She's our number one supporter. She's going to be out here this weekend
Yeah.
cheering us on. So it's always great having her there and kind of having her to go to as a mom. Is this something we should do? Is this something we should look into? What's your opinion? And always just getting advice from her. She's always there to support me and cheer me on, and it's always, do whatever, makes you feel comfortable. If you feel like it's the right thing to do, then go out there and do it. And that's kind of how I started my life by that. And, I had the opportunity of working with Advanced Auto Parts and Big Machine Records. I got to go on and, be on the CMT Awards a few months back, which was just an incredible opportunity, which kind of is something outside of just, the motorsport world. So it was really cool. And working with Advanced Auto Parts and Building Homes for Heroes and getting to meet so many incredible people and veterans through that as well. So, I've been very, very lucky. I think a lot of these opportunities kind of help, keep you grounded and really appreciate life and the opportunities that we've had and what we get to do. And what we do is entertain, and we get to have fun with it and drive these race cars at over 330 miles an hour. It's a dangerous sport, but, again, I have the full support of my parents, and they always tell me, keep having fun with it, and, you gotta love what you do because it is a dangerous sport.
Now, having fun is something. I've got a client with Toronto Blue Jays that in the brim of his baseball cap that he can look up and see, he has the word fun on every play. He's in the twilight of his career, but he's still quite an elite athlete in the Major League Baseball. So fun is part of what you want to put into your activities at the track. Which is more fun? The effort you put out around the car before you hit the starting line, or is it at the starting line? Is that the most fun? Because I know with your dad, I've heard him talk about, it's just, I got to deal with the monsters. I got the monster next to me, and I got, and that he just lights up when he starts talking about that. What part creates the fun for you?
I can't really pinpoint something. Obviously driving the car is a lot of fun. It's a handful. It's, I guess, unpredictable at times. So, that's always a challenge and a lot of fun for me, but also being out there with the fans and meeting so many amazing people and young fans and listening to their stories of girls who were telling me they are getting into junior dragsters and starting to race and getting to sign their helmets and their race clubs. But, I don't know, there's a lot of things that it's not just driving the race car, but it's everything else that kind of goes on around it. There's a lot of fun for me too. The opportunities I get, like I said before, with the CMTs and meeting people from Building Homes for Heroes. There's the list goes on. So I'm very lucky that it's opened quite a few doors and opportunities for me just from getting to drive the race car itself. So I don't know. I can't pick a favorite. It is all a lot of fun. Getting to travel and see a lot of new places and really the people that you meet on your journey.
One of the people you met at Denver was that wonderful military vet that lost her leg in her effort to protect our country. That she just was. I had a chance to just briefly say hello to her and thank her for her service. But she's quite a dynamic young woman as well. It's those stories you have. I hope you have a chance to capture those stories and share those in some form of written communication in the years to come, because like you said, you've got some great experiences, not just with your family, but what all of this has brought to you. And with that being said, I want to ask you about some of the types of skills you use to get yourself ready. One of those examples is reaction time. I talk about reaction time in all kinds of different sports. And in Seattle, or not Seattle, in Denver, I talked to Tommy Johnson about the importance of reaction time. And your dad is notorious for playing with people's minds as they come to the line. And then he just kills the tree. Now, I know that's a lot about his personality. He wouldn't probably put one thing on that and say, well, this is what I do. He's more from the gut, instinctive, reactionary kind of thing. Now, I'm going to guess you might have a little bit of that as part of yourself as well. But are there tools you use to get sharper with your reaction time before you even get to the starting line?
So we have a portable tree that we have inside of our race trailer. So, we're on that constantly throughout the day, every race weekend. And that's what I practice on. I know a lot of drivers do the same as well. So that's where I try to get my best reaction time and really get in the rhythm of it, of, just making your body react when you see that light come on. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing all weekend long, just to try to continue to get better. And
you stay sharp, too. Like in between races, you might get on it if you feel you need it, because it's more of a get the brain going kind of exercise as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really to train your brain to react when you see that light. And my dad and I were talking about the other day. He goes, don't you ever flinch when you're sitting at a stoplight and you see a light come on that, all of a sudden your body wants to react, and it's because you train your brain to react when you see that amber bulb come on. So we were kind of poking fun at the fact that we kind of will flinch a little bit on it's just, on the street driving. But yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about, is training your brain and getting it into that kind of a routine to be able to be ready for it on race day.
Well, I'm going to give you an insight on another training tool that you might think about, because this is where I take a little bit of a break to talk about a game I created on paper, and then eventually I turned it into an app on iTunes that's free. It's called Time to Focus, and this is where my work as a sports performance consultant comes into play in a lot of different sports. But getting the brain active before you actually ask it to respond is also a key step prior to the actual training. Like in your case, Courtney, it's the light tree and responding to those lights and the changes in lights. But then there's the get the chemistry going in the brain, so it's sharp and efficient and it's ready. So I developed this game for my football players primarily about 5 years ago, and it's on iTunes. So if you want to get it, it's free. It's called Time to Focus, all spelled out, Time to Focus, and it's a quick little brain game to get your brain active, get the chemistry moving and flowing, so that when you get on that tree device, or my baseball players, they have a device for hitting and reaction time with hands and stuff that they work with. Golfers, I've got golfers that do the same thing, but every one of them has something that kicks the chemistry on, and that's what I created a few years back called Time to Focus. So that's my quick, gratuitous way of promoting myself for this quick break. So thank you for that, Courtney, and that pause in our time. So now the next segment is about the skill sets. And I asked your dad this like 2 seasons ago when I saw you guys in Bristol, and he was getting a candy bar or something in the lobby of the hotel, and I said, John, do you meditate? Can you picture the expression on his face when I asked him that question, Courtney? I took it as a no, a friendly no. But do you call upon any of those kinds of skills to get you ready, get your brain ready, get your body ready? I know visualization is a big thing for me with my basketball and football players. Do you utilize any of those kinds of intangible skill developments?
Well, my sister and I have been pretty big into yoga. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of part of it. Yep. Make you meditate at the end. And yeah, I mean, that definitely helps clear your mind and get your focus. But, I mean, that's not something I'm doing, Sunday morning of the race. Like I said, I try to stay with my same routine, and that includes all the distractions and training yourself to be able to overcome it, with the distractions that you have. So, I don't know, I think everybody's a little different.
Yeah.
We do different things like that with yoga, hot yoga, and meditating in those classes. But No, I haven't really done anything really beyond that.
Okay. So, and you're very physically fit. I mean, you make it a point to stay physically strong. I mean, goodness gracious, you got 6 G's of force hitting you at over 8,000 horsepower. That's pretty impressive stuff for anybody to deal with. So you need to be physically strong. What are some of the areas of your? Is it upper body that you try to be stronger, or legs, or is it the whole body to take on all that pressure and still be responsive in the cockpit? Give the fans some understanding of what physically are you trying to make stronger and keep stronger when you're in that car.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's everything. It's, obviously when you're working out or trying to do stuff outdoors to keep you fit, it's about the whole body. I mean, it's your upper body strength for steering the car, making your legs stronger so that you can slam on the throttle quicker so that you have a quicker reaction time. The stronger your leg is, pushing that pedal down, the better your reaction time is going to be. So it's a combination of things. I mean, yeah, from head to toe, you're trying to train your body mentally and then physically from doing some strength training, circuit training, everything that you can really to really shock your body and get it ready for these races and take over you.
Where does your nutritional value come into your physical workout and helping you stay, sharp on the reaction time? Well, I mean, just plain healthy. I mean, my gosh, the events and the places you go to has got its own share of different things that are airborne that you could catch a cold or whatever. And so does nutrition play a part in your routine in staying fit and healthy physically?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's really just the lifestyle that you choose and trying to eat healthy and get your, lean proteins and your greens and your vegetables. I mean, that's your normal stuff.
What's your favorite snack?
I'm always, sorry?
What's your favorite snack?
My favorite snack?
Yeah.
I don't know. Always, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, there's a combination of things. When I'm at the track, I try to just grab veggies or fruit because of the sugar in it to kind of get your body ready to go. But I don't know. Again, everyone's different. But yeah, I mean that's.
Well, and here's the reason I asked, Courtney. I before I got to the show today, the studio, I got a text from one of my younger athletes, and she's a high performance volleyball player locally. It's already committed to a college, yada yada yada. And I didn't know this until she looked it up, but she said, "I'm a fan of drag racing," and I wouldn't have expected from her, not in any way, shape, or form. She doesn't show me any signs of being a drag racing fan, but she is. So she asked me, she said, "Would you find out what Courtney Force's favorite snack is?" I go, "Okay, I'll ask the question." So I did. So almonds is a good one because that relates directly to her. She loves almonds. But part of what I do in asking those questions about nutrition is to point out that the circulation of blood is a big part of energizing the muscle to be able to react to what your brain does to create the chemistry to make all that happen. And one of the things I've learned recently is that the beef jerky, the grass-fed beef jerky, is a high source of protein along with coconut milk. I didn't know that until my nutritionist that I call on the show every once in a while said, he says, "Yeah, you need to, shave coconut, put it in a bag, eat it as a snack. It's great stuff." And I said, "Oh," and then obviously coconut milk for my shake. So that's why I asked to see if nutrition was impacting your thinking process.
Yeah, everyone's different. I'm not a big beef jerky fan. I'm kind of scared of all the sodium in it, but I think everyone's body reacts different. I probably every day I'm trying to snack on veggies and hummus. That could be probably my other big go-to.
Yeah.
Just obsessed with it because it's all I use in the grocery store. But yeah, again, everyone's different. Everyone has different trainers that tell us different things too, and it's whatever works for you individually.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to make. I talk about that all the time. There's no one formula that's one brush for everybody. And I think that's a very important point to emphasize to the young or old. Find out resources, pick the ones that fit you, and make them work for you to help you be the best you can be.
Now, I know that in your world, mental toughness is a given. If you're not mentally tough, it's going to be hard to go A to B and have some success at the end. What is it that you have experienced that makes you feel mentally tough, that you can take on anything that's out there? I mean, there are so many factors that you have to deal with. You know, it's tire shake. You know, you do your burnout. You get a feel for the car then, and there's so many different things that go into it. And then you hit the throttle, and you don't know then what's going to come the next few microseconds, and then you have to adjust to that. You know, back off the throttle, hit a brake. You know, whatever you need to do. Is there anything outside of the race itself and that experience that helps you to become mentally tough?
I mean, obviously the things you experience in the car, kind of making them feel good was, like you said, the tire shake and pedaling the race car down the track, and that car is heavy on you. I'd say the explosions in the cars. And personally, for me, I think I learned a lot about myself and my mental toughness when I, had experience watching my dad and my sister crash. Especially when your dad crashed in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Getting back in the race car. And I had to get back in, 2 pairs later, after they took him off in an ambulance. So that was, I think, a big turning point for me. I wasn't sure if I could do it. And I had the support of my team, and I think that's the biggest thing is, they gave me the option to not even get back in the car because they knew how upset I was. And just everything that had just happened, everybody was a little bit in shock. And didn't really, especially when you're not sure what exactly happened on that run, it's crazy to just get in immediately and get down the racetrack at 330 miles an hour. But I mean, I had the support of my team, and I said, I'm fine. I'm going to get back in the car, and I did. And it was a tough day, but we were able to go on and win the race, and that. For sure told me a lot about myself and what I was able to handle without even realizing it. So I think when you push yourself to the limit, or what you think is your limit, I think you can always push it a little bit further and learn more about yourself.
I'm glad you said what you just said, because that's right out of the textbook, Courtney, from a standpoint of sports performance about getting back, get back on the horse, that kind of fun thinking, it threw you, get back on the horse. In your example, didn't really throw you, but you saw something that threw you emotionally, and you got back into it. It's that resolve in those moments, making that decision quickly, that really builds the mental toughness. Now, on a scientific basis, the more experiences you have, whether it's practice, the actual run, it builds nerve tissue called myelin that has the memory of what that experience gave you and how your nerves responded. Practice runs that you might make pre-season aren't nearly enough to really put you in a, because you don't want to blow the car up to experience that. That would just not be fun. But so when do you have that experience to build that toughness? Well, in the moment when you're pushing your hardest. So that's my message from you about kids and others that want to get into it. Get after it. Have fun. Enjoy it. But at the same time, boy, practice hard and be aware of what could come. And so I'm going to ask you some other questions related to this about, are you superstitious at all? Do you have things that you kind of put on the rear view mirror of the car to bobbly things or dice or anything? Are you superstitious? Do you have any things you need to carry with you?
No, I don't carry anything with me. For me personally, I just kind of get in a routine with when I put my helmet and my fire suit on, and fist pumping, my team, pretty much in the same order before getting my race car and picking out a song in our tow truck before getting in the car and jumping in. So I mean, I guess that's the only routine that I have. But for me, that's the kind of ride for me and gets me in the zone and ready to race. So I think everyone has their own deal, but. Yeah, I mean, that's mine. I just, I like kind of being with my team and, thinking about the race and just kind of relaxing and, finding a song that we kind of pick for the weekend to play in our car all weekend long and get in the zone, get trapped in the car and go for it.
So it's the team concept is really important to you from putting all the pieces together, because I know you've got a routine. I've seen it happen with when does the fire suit get put on, how much before the race, the starting line, are you in the tow truck? And there's a process, and you've got a team that supports you in that process. I'm going to guess, like with Brittany, there's a certain person or persons that drive you in the golf cart to begin Sunday morning and taking the stage. There's certain things and people that you expect to be in certain places as a team. Now, with that being said, as a woman, then, and going through all those experiences on and off the track, you have had, I'm going to call them obstacles or challenges from people and things. What advice would you give to women in any profession that it's high intensity, elite performer kind of exercises and efforts? So it's not just drag racing. Women in those career paths, what would you recommend to them in how they would approach their challenges and their obstacles that are presented to them?
I mean, really, I don't think you need to approach it really any differently. You've got to maybe work a little bit harder, some may think, but again, when you get into these race cars, the car doesn't know that you're not driving it. You just got to get yourself physically and mentally capable of driving the car, being able to pedal the car, and you learn from your mistakes, and you actually, eventually there to have that better reaction time than them. But that's just something that comes with, processing and trying to push yourself to be better at it.
All right, so now you're at the starting line, and as your dad would say, he looks across the other way, and who is that monster over there? And I gotta get my head right about that monster and make sure that I'm gonna beat that monster A to B. Is there any particular monster that you look at on the other side of the track that just you kind of get a little bit more amped up about? Hey, I got this. I'm thinking it might be Ron Capps, but that's just me, and that's kind of my own inside joke.
Your routine shouldn't change. It shouldn't matter who's in the other lane.
Okay.
You see the driver in race, the driver will, car and get it down to the other end, no matter who's in the lane next to you. So, my focus is just on myself and doing my routine and not letting that get screwed up, and keeping my focus. So it shouldn't matter, who's in the other lane. You want to beat them no matter who they are.
Now, I love that, because that's you being in the moment, staying focused on what you need to do for you. It's a process-oriented thought. But you've been around enough races, and you've seen starting line dances between drivers. And one of those drivers you know pretty well that dances really, really well at the starting line with other drivers. Does that still have a place in the sport, to be kind of like gamey? At the starting line, deep staging, rolling in, all those kind of little things that the boys play. Is that?
Yeah, it happens. Everybody is aware. Some people do it more than others, and you let them do their thing if that's how they want to stage or that's what they want to try to. If they're trying to mess with you, don't let it change your routine. And that's kind of how you have to overcome it. You got to stick to what you know and keep your routine going and don't let anyone change it, because that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, my dad definitely got his routine, and that's what gets him fired up to beat the others in the other lane. He's done it to every other driver, I'm sure, out there. But that's what you're able to do. If you want to roll that car, you definitely can, and he does it a number of times. It's winning races. He's done. I don't even know how many last weekend. At least one or two of the rounds he won on a whole shot.
Yeah.
So he does a pretty good job, and he's got it figured out. And he may know how to mess with people, or maybe just knows how to get that car off the line. But he's got it figured out. He's done such a great job, and it's shown it. The number of wins and the number of championships that he's had. So I think we all can kind of open the truth, but he does a pretty good job.
Well, if there's film watching that can be done for NHRA, getting ready for a race, I think it would be watching your dad start a race. If you want to find edges for yourself and getting better, because he's one of the best at doing it. Now, I want to shift gears with you a little bit and go current day. So we're at Friday before a weekend of racing in Seattle. You're number one on the list of the top 10, and you've pretty much confirmed, because there's only 3 races left, you've pretty much confirmed your spot for the championship, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
2 races ago, I did.
And Dad is at number 8, and Robert is what, 2 or 3? So Robert's in the hunt.
I'd say these 3.
Yeah, Robert's in the hunt too.
Yeah.
But Dad, he could. I mean, he's probably going to be locked in, right? He's going to continue to score points and do the things he needs to do. But the
Yeah, I think he'll do good.
the prognosticators, Courtney, say that Robert's going to win this weekend. It's a Schumacher, Robert Height, and the pro stock, Anderson are the 3 they're picking. What do you think about that? Is that, I mean, obviously it's the car. The car's got a lot to do with it, how the track runs. But so, how can prognosticators say that pre-race that we think the Wally's going to Tony Schumacher, Robert Height, and Mr. Anderson? Why not?
Well, because he's not a consistent racer, you know. He just took off the way on. They're saying that he obviously had a car that was good enough all weekend long in Sonoma and ended up in the winner's circle. So
Yeah.
he's the one to beat.
Yeah, and Robert, he's been kind of sitting in the shadows a little bit. He's consistently delivering. That's kind of the finish strong Robert Height kind of thing going on. We're in the trailer when everybody's kind of hanging around, pre-race Fridays and talking about stuff. Do you get any trash talking going on in the family or not?
No, I mean, we're all one team, and obviously when you have to go up against one of them, your goal is to take them out. But when one of them can end up, or one of us can end up in the winner's circle, I think that's the ultimate goal for our team and for all our sponsors. You get the JFR win. So, I mean, you can't take any of these teams lightly. I think you can see that with all the teams that are fighting to get into that top 10 right now. I think there's about 4 or 5 that have a chance to.
Yeah.
With only a few races left to lock in. So, it really goes to show how tough these teams and these drivers are, and how competitive the 20 car category is right now.
Well, and coming back, Colorado's got its own unique environment, literally. And I was really pleased to see how competitive cars at all different sizes of teams competed. Even though props went to your dad for the champion, the win of that race. Do you have a favorite track you like to run on that just feels good for you?
I mean, I always like coming back to my home track in Pomona, California.
Mm-hmm.
Sonoma kind of feels like a little bit of a home track too. But Pomona is close to home, that's one of my favorites, but there's a number of them. There's a lot of really great tracks on the circuit, so it's hard to pick a favorite. There's some that, I think a lot of cars set some record-setting times, and I think those are obviously a lot of fun because you never know what can happen at that race and at that track. So, I mean, there's a number of great tracks, and especially, again, coming to Seattle, one that I've won in both Israel Dragster and 20 car always is a special track for me.
And I ask you that question because we're going to segue into our last segment about environment. It's what I call performance results, which doesn't have anything to do with winning a race or getting a Wally, but it has to do with, when I had my day, not drag racing, just racing, just back streets, dirt roads in the country. And there was always that feel of the road. How loose did it feel? How connected do I feel? Do you get a sense of that when you're in the cockpit of the car? That you get a sense after the burnout what it feels like? And am I grooving it? Is it? Do I feel good about that?
I think you learn a lot of the first 60 feet. I mean, when you're at the throttle, that's when you can kind of figure out what your car's going to do and how it's going to how hard it's going and then continue to go. So, I mean, every track feels a little bit different and everyone feels a little bit different. But again, it's a matter of getting kind of consistent and kind of feeling it and pushing it harder, more and more down track.
Is there anything about what your dad has taught you that sticks in your mind more often when you get to the starting line and do your burnout? Is there something that's kind of set in your head that came from your dad about that first 60 feet?
I mean, my dad, his advice is usually the same. It's just go out there and kick butt and have fun. It's just about having fun in these cars.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do but, as a driver, just keep the car straight, or learn if you need to get this car down track and you got to pedal it. You just have to do the best job that you can and learn from your mistakes in order to be better. So for me, my dad's always just telling me to have fun with it and keep my focus and keep that car in the groove.
Sounds like your dad's lived by the KISS principle for a long time. Keep it simple. Well, I don't use the last S, which my dad would call stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. But yeah, that's exactly right. I get too often, even at the professional other sport levels, a lot of times with technology and so many resources we have to evaluate things, it gets so cluttered. I mean, I've looked at the computers that your crew chiefs look at, and I'm going, I understand their cylinder readouts and stuff, but guys, my gosh, that's a lot of data. Just you take care of it and let me drive. I'm guessing you're not probably spend a lot of time looking at their computer screens to understand how you need to drive.
Well, no, we go back and definitely study the screens together and compare what the car is doing on based on their data compared to the video that we have when we record the run and kind of match it up. So, yeah, after every single run, I bring the trailer with my crew chief, talking with them and what needs to be changed and what we're going to do on the next run.
So how give me some specifics about that then. How does that help you in your driver process then, by knowing how the car responded, what it looked like when it went down the track? Because now you've got that objective look from outside because you're in, so now you got the film to see from the outside. What does that do or change in the way you're going to handle the car on the next run by looking at that information?
It depends on the run. It depends on the track.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just what they kind of tell you to do. Sometimes you got to be careful. Some of the tracks try to pull you to the inside or the outside.
Gotcha.
Or, there's bump down tracks. You really got to keep that car steady and not mess with the steering at all because otherwise it'll disrupt, the car and it could cause you to go up in tire shake. So there's a lot of different things, that you've got to focus on, but you kind of learn at every track and every run and just kind of listen to your car and listen to your crew chiefs and get it figured out.
So those decisions happen in like microseconds. It's one thing to see the track and see that, I see where they've got a little groove to the outside. I've got to be careful with that when I'm steering. And I keep coming in my head, Courtney, somebody years ago said to me, well, you really can't steer funny cars. You just kind of just point it and shoot, which is not really true, but some ignorant person said that. Anyway, but you gotta make those decisions in just like microseconds. And the level of confidence in your crew, getting your car to be able to respond to whatever you ask it to do has got to be just amazing. If you haven't been to a drag race, I'll have a little promo of drag racing right now. If you haven't been to a drag race, people, get there because the power is amazing. It just bounces off your chest. Even if you're sitting in the stands, let alone at the starting line, which I've had the pleasure of being at many, many times. But Courtney, this is not a dig. You're so nonchalant about how great you are. It's just that force, and then having to adjust to the differences of the track based on what you saw from the film, or what, okay, we lost 2 cylinders on that, but we still got a pretty good time. Why did that happen? Could I have done anything? Does that ever overwhelm you? The answer is probably no, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Does that ever overwhelm you? That's amazing mental capacity.
Yeah, you just have to keep your focus. It's, like I said, it's different every run, and you learn from it. Sometimes, it's a 4-second run. Everything happens very quickly.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how your body will react to, get the car, going straight. Obviously you have to counter steer when you drop a cylinder, and your body kind of automatically reacts to that and knows that, you've got to keep that car straight, you got to pull it to the right,
Yeah.
or, whatever it may be. But you learn that with time, and again, you really just have to listen to your race car and feel it, and know, what it's doing, when you're going down the track. But again, it's only 4 seconds, and a lot happens in that short amount of time. But yeah, you just got to keep your focus on every single run, because it really be on the edge of your seat, because it's an unpredictable car. Anything can happen, and you have to know, when it feels like it's going up in tire shake, or the tires from the boost, or dropping hole. You've got to be careful. You've gotta feel it. What's the deal?
Now, I'm gonna transition, but still stay connected to what you just said. So congratulations to you. You're still kind of a newlywed, so to speak, but recently married, right? What is it? How much over a year is it?
We're going on 3 years.
3 years? Oh, look how fast it is. Look at that. 3 years. And your husband is a race kind of guy too, right?
Yes. Yeah. He runs in IndyCar.
I know the answer. I just want to kind of set it up for the audience. I don't want to just blurt out Ray Hall. I don't want to blurt out Indy cars, But you guys are that's really cool stuff. So 3 years, you both are in the careers of auto racing, different classifications. There's some challenges there. How's the management of professional life and family life? Now you've got a family now. I mean, you've got a big family, but now it's you and him. Is that challenging, or is it exciting, or all of the above?
It's fun because we get to go to a lot of different racetracks and see a lot of different things. I think we really just live on the road and build out of the suitcase, but it makes it fun. We get to be there to support each other at a number of races, and it's great to have someone that understands the sport and what you're going through, and not just the ups and downs of driving a race car, but obviously the travel and the media and the appearances and all the different connections that you get pulled, and just having someone that gets it and supports you. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's great. I mean, he's going to be out here this weekend supporting me because he's not able to, because he's going to Adam race this weekend. So it works out. But yeah, definitely a lot of time on the road for sure.
Well, and look, I'm going to predict that you're going to have such a great life ahead of you. You already have at a very young age. Congratulations for that. I'm going to ask you my last questions and also say thank you to Sarah and to Kelly for all their patience and diligence in helping me out, bringing the two of us together to chat and talk. Sarah texted me, by the way. So I want to get you the track on time. So here's the last question, Courtney. What advantages do female drivers, do you think, have over male drivers in their approach to the driving process? And I'm not saying about that it's female versus male. I mean, there's certain, we're different, right? We got to admit that we're different. So the feminine power has privileges, I believe, in that cockpit that men just cannot replicate no matter how hard they try. So tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm right. And if I'm right, what is it?
I don't know. I don't think there's anything special being a female in a race car. Like I said, we go out there. We don't try to be the best females in our sport. We try to just be the best drivers in our sport. And I don't think being a girl in the seat of a funny car is anything that gives me any sort of advantage over anybody else. I think we all equally we're work as hard at it to get the car down to the other end. And like I said earlier, the car doesn't know if you're a male or a female when you get behind the wheel. I mean, you just gotta do your best and push yourself as hard as possible to get down to the other end and to turn the win right.
And I have to admit to you, I kind of set you up, and I was hoping you would answer it exactly that way, because I am for power and privilege to any gender, as long as you put in the work and the effort and the diligence to make it your best and have fun at it. So I thank you for that answer. I wish you so much good luck this weekend in Seattle. I'll be the one to say I hope you beat Robert.
even though you're all cheering on for everybody else. Give your dad my best, and what he's such an icon, and he handles it so well. You've got John Force Racing is one team to face to be better, but also a force to be reckoned with. So Courtney Force, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy this weekend. And you're heading off to Brainerd after that. Enjoy the rest of the season. There's 3 races left before we get into the championship set of the NHRA Funny Car, Top Fuel, and Pro Stock Series with the Mellow Yellow Racing Series. Be safe, my friend. I hope you are. And the next time I visit the track, I'll make sure I come to see you and say hello. Thanks again.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, Courtney, have a great day today. Take care.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
All right, people, that was Courtney Force, Force Racing, John Force Racing. Thanks to the Force Racing team and John Force and his family for bringing such a great tradition of drag racing to NHRA for many, many years. And I'm going to guess there's going to be a force on the track, both in the car and on the track. You see what I'm saying there? You see how I said that? Yeah. So be aware of the races this weekend. They're broadcasting on Fox Sports or Fox Sports 1. It's all Fox, but check your listings to make sure where NHRA is broadcasting the Seattle Run. Great scenery, great setting there. Should be good weather, I hope. And I wish the best to all racers on the track. We're in our final segment on performance results, but as I say that, I want to make sure that everybody out there is, I've given the code before, but I want to make sure I give it again for the empowerbodycare.com. Go to empowerbodycare.com and get some great spa oils that allow you to feel good. They soften the bumps and bruises. I've got one big old bruise right there from my karate competitions. Got kicked in the, I blocked a kick in my forearm. But empowerbodycare.com, the code is LW010, and you get your discount by going online to empowerbodycare.com and check that out for taking care of those boo-boos and those aches and pains from working out, being very strong at what you do. So, in addition to that, go to avcare.com or avcare.com and check out your germ block. Get some germ block hand sanitizer. Great stuff. Non-alcohol. Doesn't dry out your fingers or cuticles. It feels like a lotion. It's great stuff. And I love the little, this is awesome. You know, for you nurses and medical professionals out there, get that, put that on your scrubs. I'm putting all my commercial things at the end because I had such a great time talking to Courtney about her success as a NHRA drag racer in the funny car class. It's a testament to a family like that Courtney doesn't feel any pressure. And I've been around her and I've seen her, so her words are validated by not just my experience but others. That her dad has been a teacher to her. I see him on his scooter, and I see Courtney's mom at the starting line, and they are always there for them. They want them to have fun. They want to enjoy what they're doing, but they are also realists about the sport. It's a dangerous sport, and yet it's a family and a team that does it right and makes sure that every pass down the track is one that's as well prepared and well studied and well practiced as it can be for the sport. Now, as you look over my shoulder, we've got Courtney Force going against Tommy Johnson Jr. In a race last year that Courtney wins, I believe. She goes away, and I think he dropped a hole there in the first 60 feet, so Tommy didn't quite make it. But notice that she had a .104 reaction time to a .052 reaction time by Tommy Johnson, but Tommy's car didn't make the pass, and Courtney's did. This is a great. I'm having such a great time with this show. We've showcased NHRA when they're here in Denver in the beginning of the Western Swing, and Courtney allowed us to help end the swing in Seattle. The Seattle race is the fourth race before the end of the regular season that sets up the top 10 for the championship portion of the season. So there's 3 races left after this for anybody who is not in the top 10 to make it to bump themselves up into that. John Force himself, Courtney's dad, is number 8. Brittany is number 13 in the top fuel segment. And then, there's a chance that Brittany might be able to pop up there and make it in the last 3 races. It's tough. It's going to be tough, but she's got a good crew and good folks there to help her. I'm going to keep saying it about the monsters, even though Courtney says, I just get to the starting line, I just do my job, process through. Look, she's a competitor. So I'm going to disagree with her without her being online with me and say to her, girl, you know who's next to you, and you study it. You know what they do, what they can do, and you're doing your thing, but that you know who the monster is next door, and you're taking care of business in every way, shape, and form. Let me give you a little bit of a blurb for next week, what's coming up for next week in the show. We're going to be going to the showcasing the NFL and the MLB next week. We're getting close to teams positioning themselves for the playoffs. The Rockies will be doing that. The Dodgers will be coming into town in a few weeks. That's a 4-game series. That's going to be a big series for them, especially with where the two teams are jockeying back and forth, anywhere from 1.5 to a half game out between the Rockies and the Dodgers at any one time. So that's going to be a very critical series for both teams. And then we're gonna hopefully have some callers in. I don't know if we have anybody in the studio. We're going to try. We're working very hard to get some callers in to the studio, but we might be able to get some players in the studio next Friday on the show from the NFL. And maybe a local team. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But so keep your fingers crossed. Don't send me a text if you want, or text or an email, or drop a note onto 360mindset.com at the website and tell me who would you like to have as a Bronco on the show. Let me know who that might be, and you can share with me who I should probably get on the show for next week. No guarantees, but we'll give it a try. So as we come up to the final couple minutes of the show today, I want to make sure, let's see, 360 miles. Okay, a reminder on the NFL stuff that's important. We've got some great things going on this weekend. The Hall of Fame enshrinement coverage is this weekend. It started Thursday in Canton, goes all the way through the weekend. Tomorrow is the game. That is, and the Gold Jacket ceremony is tonight at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, where they'll be giving the jackets to the inductees. I'm trying to get on this thing. I should have the names of the inductees, but I don't. I don't seem to see them. Well, it looks like, well, they've got the full list of the analysts who are going to be there talking about the game, about the Hall of Fame inductees. Michael Irvin, Kurt Warner, LaDainian Tomlinson, and Terrell Davis. And then the reporter Steve Weich are going to be there. And then the coaches that will be enshrined. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Ray Lewis and Randy Moss will be talking about the coaches who are the enshrinees for the NFL Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony. There's also a double broadcast on NFL Total Access. The enshrinement process will repeat itself at 11 p.m. Eastern Time or 9 p.m. Mountain Time. All right. And then coming back, I didn't say this earlier about the use of the helmet. We're going to wear it, obviously. Going to wear a helmet. But the NFL, here's the points of emphasis for the officials when they evaluate the misuse of the helmet. Here's their emphasis. Their emphasis is on stance, posture, and technique. Here are some components of that they're looking for. Knees are bent. Pads are down. Hands first, head up and out of the way. So it's basically talking about proper tackling technique and not a posturing that looks like you're going to spear the guy. One of the things that what I said up earlier about the violation is looking at unobstructed path to the opponent. So if you're running at some guy who's got the ball and there's nobody in between you to block you, and you put your head down and you launch, come off your feet and launch, that's pretty obvious that they're not going to accept that anymore. So the coaches are going to be asked to emphasize this technique of those 4 things: knees bent, pads down, hands first, head up and out of the way. So it's quite interesting what the NFL is doing. They're actually going instructional. It's a good leadership effort. The penalty for this, people, I'll talk right to the camera. The penalty for this is 15 yards if the foul is by the defense. It is also an automatic first down. The player may also be ejected. Now, question I have, which I don't know if I've had an answer here. What if the foul is by an offensive player? They're trying to block somebody, or supposedly block somebody, but they put their heads down, and they don't have any, they have a no unobstructed path to the opponent. And the contact, well, if it's blocking, the contact's not a point. Well, at any rate, offense too could, the offense could do that too. Typically going to happen more often in the defense. And this was approved, new rule approved in March. Okay. All right, people. Sad to say, I'd like to talk more, but it's time to say goodbye for another Friday on 360 Performance Talk at KUHSdenver.com. Great day talking to Courtney Force about her experiences as a driver. She says, like she said, doesn't matter, man or woman, in the seat. You drive the car the way it's supposed to be driven, you got a good chance of going A to B and getting the green light. Thanks for your attention today. Have a great day. Let's give you a little bit of Prince to take you into the rest of the afternoon.